Hey there, it's Sanya with Vegan MamaNana. We show you how easy it is to make high carb, low fat vegan meals. Please like and subscribe to our page. We really enjoy interacting with you on YouTube. This next video is part 2 of our soup video that we did last week. We just had such a great time making our soups and ran out of time. So this video will be all about minestrone. So what are we making this episode, Mom?
Well, we're going to make some nice soups for autumn. And I'm making a minestrone soup, which is a basic vegetable soup with beans and some pasta in it. Okay, so what we have here, I've minced up some garlic with parsley. This is a fresh oregano and fresh basil. You don't have to use fresh oregano and basil. You can use dried ingredients too for herbs. And I like to put a little rosemary in. I don't have any fresh rosemary, which is odd. We have some onions, we have celery, carrots, some zucchini, and these are the Borlotti beans. You can see they're almost like pinto beans, but they're rounder. And
is that an Italian bean?
It's an Italian bean, but you don't have to use this. You can use chickpeas, you can use kidney beans, any kind of beans you want. But I like to cook them and then use the broth from the beans as my soup base. And just, you know, adds a nice flavor. And we also have, I have 1 can of Italian tomatoes here that I've chopped up the can and taken the juice. I rinse the can out with a little bit of the water from the cooking the beans. I don't like to waste that water. And Sanya found a sprig of fresh rosemary, so we're going to use that too. It'd be nice to have all fresh herbs. Well, I'm just going to keep sauteing these, and it usually takes around at least 10 minutes. Okay, so the onions sauteed, and I added the carrots, the celery, the fresh herbs, or dried herbs if you'd like. Sonia did find that sprig of rosemary. I'm just going to put this right in the pot, and I'll fish it out. So in my pot here, I put the can of cut up tomatoes, and my beans are in here cooking too. I don't know if I can show you what's going on in the pot. Yeah, you can see the beans there. And now we're going to just add the contents of the pan. Now, I did not add the zucchini because the zucchini doesn't take very long to cook, so I'm going to add the zucchini probably maybe 15 minutes before I would consider the soup done. And also, you know, you can add a little kale, you can add some, I think spinach would be better. Or a little escarole. Escarole is lovely in soups. I would cook it first because it is a little bitter and it can lend a bitter flavor to your soup. So this is how the soup looks now. I'll bring it over here. I'm going to let this cook for around an hour. Don't want to forget some fresh pepper. I did put some salt in there too. And that's completely up to you what you want to do with salt. I think it always needs a little pepper, is always good. You know, my grandmother came to visit me, bless her heart. She was 70 years old, and when I had my second baby, she came to visit me. And she's from Italy, from a little town called Castelfrontano. And I'll go ahead and put myself up here. Anyway, we had so much fun cooking together. At the time, I had already taught myself how to make a pizza and a few other Italian things. But my grandmother taught me how to make the most delicious marinara sauce. Very, very simple. And she taught me how to make meatballs, which we know aren't really Italian, but you know, they are so good, and the secret to those was to cook them for a long time in the sauce, and a completely different sauce for the meatballs. Of course, I'm not eating meatballs these days, but there are other kinds of, I think they call them meatballs, or things that you can do with tofu or other mixtures. to make something similar to that. So it was really nice to get to know her because she lived in New Jersey and I live in California. I hadn't seen her from the time we left Pennsylvania, which I was 3.5 years old. And then I was 20 when I had my second baby, and that's how long it was since I saw her. So it was really nice. She never spoke much English because she lived in an Italian part of New Jersey, and we communicated through food and sign language. And I learned some Italian words, and she learned a few English, what she could. But anyway, this soup is going to cook for around an hour. I'll be back later. All right, so the vegetables have been cooking for around 45 minutes, and I just added the zucchini, and I've got it to a nice rolling boil here, and I'm going to add the pasta. You can add any kind of pasta you want. I like to add small pasta because it is a soup. So this is it's like spaghetti, only it's hollow inside. Bucatini.
Bucatini.
And that's the kind I'm using here, but you can use any kind, little macaronis, little shells, any kind you want. Give it a nice stir, and we'll just let that cook for around 10 minutes. I took the rosemary sprig out, and it lost most of its leaves, so those are in the soup. It's delicious. Just so beautiful like that. Okay. Oh. So this is our soup and our minestrone. We added some spinach, some fresh spinach to it. And yeah, it's all ready to serve. So I'm going to put it in our bowl here. A nice big Italian minestrone style bowl. Okay, so I made a little bit of pesto to go on the minestrone soup because it's so good. This is vegan pesto, and what I do is when I buy basil, I have to buy a big bunch of it. Or if I'm growing it, it's kind of like it's ready all at once. So you have this big bunch of basil, and maybe you're not ready to get to it for a couple of days. And then, of course, it goes bad because it does not last.
This always happens to me, too.
Yeah, so what I've taken to doing is I wash it, and I take all the leaves off of it, and I put it in my Vitamix with a little, tiny little bit of water and make a basil puree. And then I pour that into an ice cube tray, and I freeze it. And then I take the little basil cubes out of the trays and put them in bags and keep them in my freezer. So this basil was 3 little frozen ice cubes of basil, not ice cubes, but anyway. So that goes on our pesto. It's just basil, garlic, pine nut. Just a tiny little bit of pine nuts.
Yeah, just blend that together. Mom has always made the best minestrone soup, and she always served it with pesto on top. It's so tasty.
Well, now we get to taste the fruit of our labor. And I think we should taste the carrot sweet potato bisque
with
first.
The coconut, so delicious coconut plain yogurt on top of that. I love the sourness that the plain yogurt lends to it. It's kind of like you have sour cream on something.
And the coconut. I mean, I taste the nice coconut flavor.
It has a coconut flavor
delicious.
To it. Very good.
Wonderful. And here's our minestrone with the pesto. I'm going to stir it in.
Oh, okay.
Because that's usually what we do.
Stir it in.
And just a regular old pesto recipe, just minus the Parmesan cheese and the olive oil. So, and it lends.
It doesn't need it. It seems
No.
I'm noticing that I don't need any of that.
Yeah.
So tasty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yum.
So good.
Very, very good. I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Vegan MamaNana.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe, and you'll know when our next episode comes up. And we'll see you next time.